but The Shape of Water has that romantic element to it that really, really speaks to my heart and feeds the romantic in me.
Happy Valentine's Day! Welcome to my channel. Thank you for clicking on my video.
Is coming, it's too late now to rewind. So let it go and open up your mind. Long live the terror, we are hungry. Sinners full of bliss, left behind in the darkness that is. We are long live the terror, we are hungry. Sinners full of bliss, left behind in the darkness that is. We are long.
Hello world! I'm Chris Maitini, aka Mr. FLIXTER. Mr. FLIXTER. In this episode, in honor of Valentine's Day, I'm going to review The Shape of Water. This dark fantasy horror flick is an unconventional romance about a princess without a voice and the monster that tried to destroy it all. So, does this contemporary fish-out-of-water fairy tale lay all its chips on the table?
Hello, world.
I am Ursula.
And I'm Noah, film critic extraordinaire. Meow, 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 meow. We're here to warn you about the spoil of you.
Baby kitty, I do not understand. Why is it shape of water? Water does not have shape.
And I don't understand why you don't use contractions when you talk. Meow.
The Shape of Water was made on a budget of $20 million.
It made $196 million at the box office.
The cast is impeccable. Each person fills their roles very well. It's kind of hard to imagine anybody else in these roles. That's how well they do it. Sally Hawkins plays Eliza Esposito.
The part in there, though, there was a tank that I came up in, that was the rounded glass where I kind of like came face to face, hand to hand with the Eliza character, played by Sally Hawkins, who was just an absolute delight to work with. So that was supposed to be a water tank, but it was not. It was actually filled with smoke and then had some rippling lighting effect that made it look like water. And then I was in there on a teeter-totter with a couple of stunt guys going like this to give me some buoyancy and some movement in the water. And that way it was easier to control how long I could stay in there. I was actually breathing air, so I could stay in there forever.
The film starts with a typical day of her life, before and after work. She's a night custodian at a top-secret government facility. She talks with her friend and neighbor Giles while boiling some eggs. She lives above a movie theater which she frequents before riding the bus to work. She greets her other friend Zelda upon arrival. It's so interesting how the three main human characters are a mute, a closeted gay man, and a black woman. It's set in 1962 during the Cold War, so it was the time of tribulations for minorities and the taboo. She sees the creature for the first time after cleaning puddles of blood. She finds Strickland's fingers on the floor before finding out the creature was wounded too. So whose blood was she cleaning up after? It's fascinating how Eliza and the amphibian man first communicate through music, the universal language. I love how Eliza stays cool, calm, and collected during the interrogation after the amphibian man escape scene. She even tells Strickland off to his face. That says so much about her character, in my opinion.
What is she saying?
I didn't catch it.
Michael Shannon is Richard Strickland. He's so good at being an imposing, menacing figure. He starts off friendly, but slowly descends into madness, until finally becoming a despicable monster. It's such a satisfying moment when he finally gets his comeuppance. And it's a moment of glory for the amphibian man. He says that he found him in the Amazon, similar to the creature from the Black Lagoon. In my opinion, showing Strickland's home life adds dimensions to his character. He's not evil just because he's the bad guy. He's driven by his need to provide for his family and his country. Worse yet, he thinks he's the hero of his own story. He thinks he's right, which makes him both scary and dangerous. I think the gangrene on his fingers symbolizes the putridity of his festering soul, shown through his extremely negative toxic emotions. He goes on a rampage with such intense furiosity. That's good acting. It makes me cringe every time he pulls his fingers off. Oh. He comes full circle because in the beginning he says that creature doesn't look like any god of his. Just before he gets his throat slashed, he claims the amphibian man is a god.
You know, the natives in the Amazon worship him as a god.
I didn't notice that. I want this way.
Well, humans don't, and he looks like a human.
Doug Jones plays the amphibian man.
I don't have a favorite character because I love them all so dearly, like my own kids, but my favorite movie I've been able to play in, I would believe Shape of Water and Pan's Labyrinth were kind of neck and neck, but The Shape of Water has that romantic element to it that really, really speaks to my heart and feeds the romantic in me.
He uses his body language to emphasize extreme emotions like fear, joy, and love. At times, he has this majestic godliness to him. Other times, he's a fearsome beast. His eyes are especially expressive, conveying these extreme emotions too. At times he shows more humanity than Strickland could muster. I had the pleasure of meeting Doug Jones in October at Frightmare in the Falls last year. I asked about this movie, and here's what he had to say.
Well, hey, Chris, Doug Jones here. Thank you so much for getting a hold of me and asking these lovely questions about probably my favorite movie that I've ever been in. So, when you ask about what was the most difficult scene to do in The Shape of Water, and how much time did I actually spend in the water, let me tell you some stories then. I get asked about the water thing all the time because that was the first time that I had actually worn a prosthetic makeup costume and had been submerged in water for extended periods of time. Now, I've gotten wet before and I've been splashed or fallen into water before, but didn't have to film underwater. And The Shape of Water was a combination of both actual practical in the water scenes, whether underneath underwater cameras used, or the pool in the laboratory area where I kept coming up out of the water and then diving back into the water. That was an actual pool that was built on the set in that laboratory.
Once at Eliza's home, the amphibian man connects with her emotionally and physically. Their trust grows so much after the escape.
The other scenes, let's see, that were of note were the bathroom scene where Eliza comes in and we've gotten romantic, and I've spent some time in her bathtub and we've connected, emotionally, romantically, physically, and now she comes in and she stuffs towels under the door and then floods the bathroom, and so the water rises up, 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 up. Well, they took the bathroom set that was from our actual filming, all those scenes in the bathroom, and put that set into an 8-foot tank, huge tank, and a big water pool type set. But it was in the bathroom, so they could flood it practically. So it was actual water filling up the room, and that, I'm going to say, that's going to answer your question of what was the most difficult scene to do. Probably that one, because we had to go through scuba training, because there were for safety reasons, there were a couple of scuba divers that were hidden in the corners of the bottom of the water. It was 8 feet, so it's not that. I mean, I'm 6'3", so all I had to do was go whoop, and I could get to the top pretty easily, as could she. But just as a safety measure, they had us. We had to go through a couple we had to go out to a pool somewhere in Toronto where we filmed and get training on those respirators, on how to use them and how to share one underwater, and how to get a scuba diver, how to breathe when a scuba diver hands you one. So we kind of got acclimated to the underwater safety protocols. And so those guys were hiding in the corners just in case anything went wrong in our 8 feet of water. But thankfully, we never had to use them. As that, we started every take of that, and that scene. Once the water was flooded all the way up, we had to tread water at the top and kind of, and then go under and exhale so that we would actually be able to stay down at the bottom of the bathroom set. If we had our lungs full, we might have gone right back up. So had to exhale so that we could then embrace each other and kind of spin around and try to orchestrate a movement that would look romantic and set to the music. It was really just a beautiful moment. And we had speakers under the water that Guillermo del Toro was on a microphone saying, action and cut. And we were just begging for that cut to come, because once you've exhaled and you're under 8 feet of water, it can be a little slightly scary that you're like, is he going to yell cut, or are we just going to die here? I don't know. So thankfully I'm alive to talk about it, so it must have come out okay. I think we pulled it off.
Even when he betrays her trust, she's understanding, showing forgiveness. I love the scene when Eliza and the amphibian man are in the movie theater. There's a wide shot of her slowly approaching him. She puts her hand on his chest. He puts his hand on hers. After a close-up of both of their faces, it cuts to another wide shot. It's a short, sweet, apologetic moment of vulnerability, empathy, compassion, and intimacy. It really emphasizes how they don't need to speak to communicate. And now it's time for a trigger warning because the amphibian man eats a cat. I know some people don't like horror movies when the animal doesn't survive. You've been warned. Just putting that out there. Richard Jenkins is Giles. He's got some of the more impactful scenes when he talks to both Eliza and the amphibian man. It's captivating how racism and homophobia changes his mind about saving the creature. It's a poignant moment told through brutal honesty. On a dime, Giles' perspective on the man he thought he knew flips. The guy at the restaurant isn't vulgar or violent, but you can see the pain Giles feels, given a clear sense of his motivation. The words cut him that deeply. The grand finale in the rain is beautifully shot as the lovers speak in sign language before Strickland ruins the moment. They lovingly embrace hands. It makes me cry every time. Giles rescuing them feels earned because he finally fights back instead of being complacent. He could have stood up for himself at the restaurant when he got banned, or for the black couple that was there too. But he didn't. In this scene, he finally fights for what he believes in. Michael Stolberg is Dr. Hofstetter / Dimitri. It's interesting how the spy betrays both nations for the sake of the amphibian man's life and science. He's got a mini story arc, but he's so integral to the plot because of it. Octavia Spencer plays Zelda. Unfortunately, her character is one-dimensional. She's just relegated to the role of the sassy black sidekick. She doesn't even have a character arc like the others do. Like, yeah, first she's against the amphibian man escape, and then, like, last minute, she decides to go with it, but there's no, like, emotional, like, internal struggle, you know what I mean? Like, she's there, and then she flips because she's like, oh, we gotta do this now. And then that's it. I wonder if Strickland, asking himself why he's questioning The Help, is a reference to her other movie.
What am I doing? Interviewing the fucking help.
Directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro.
He's made some of the best dark fantasy horror movies of our time. Some of my personal favorites include Pan's Labyrinth and the good Hellboy movies. I also love Blade 2. The masterful camera work is in constant motion. More specifically, it's utilized for long takes, slow zooms, tracking shots, close-ups, unique angles, pans, and precise framing. The opening scene is a very powerful underwater dream sequence. I think it's symbolic of how we all feel like we're drowning sometimes. It could also be seen as Eliza's fantasy of living underwater.
Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
The first thing I noticed when it goes through her daily routine is the elaborate set designs and elegant costumes. The lighting is beautifully done. I love a good period piece. There's this hauntingly beautiful green motif throughout the film, as if to suggest we're in a hyper-stylized fantasy world, similar to ours, but slightly askew. Written by Del Toro and Vanessa Taylor, the first lines of dialogue,
If I spoke about it, if I did, what would I tell you? I wonder.
are remarkably reminiscent of any classic fairy tale.
Would I tell you about the time? It happened a long time ago, it seems.
The film contains minimal dialogue, primarily relying on characters' actions to tell the story. It's a classic example of show, don't tell. The romance starts slowly with common interests like music and food. Eliza also displays an affinity for water, beginning from birth, because they say she was found at the edge of the river as a baby.
They found her by the river in the water.
The scars are why she can't speak, foreshadowing her guilt. She dreams of living underwater. She prefers hard-boiled eggs. Boiled in water. And eggs could also be a symbol of fertility, or the fertile love. She also takes long, gratifying baths. Very gratifying, if you catch my drift. The creature breakout scene is suspenseful because it keeps the plan simple. I like how the lethal injection shot is used as a plot device to kill the guard, because deep down, Dimitri knows what they're doing to the creature is just wrong. In a humorous scene, 2 water droplets are used as symbolism to represent 2 individuals becoming one. This relates to the flooded bathroom scene. It shows a beautiful yet sensual ballet of 2 bodies becoming one, much like those water droplets. The embrace they share shows how comfortable Eliza is in the amphibian man's embrace. The entire flick has been building up to this moment, foreshadowing it in the opening credits sequence. I love the score, too. It adds whimsy to this mysterious world. It makes you want to explore it. I love when Eliza tries speaking at one point, before it suddenly, seamlessly changes into a song and dance number, mimicking a scene from Singing in the Rain with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. The final scene, depicted on the poster, is described best by the poem said by Giles. The title of the film makes perfect sense after he says these words.
Unable to perceive the shape of you, I find you all around me. Your presence fills my eyes with your love. It humbles my heart, for you are everywhere.
So the other one, the other scene that's the poster of the movie and the cover of the movie, if you have the DVD or Blu-ray, is the 2 of us in this beautiful embrace floating in the middle of a vast underwater set. And that's at the end of the movie, after I've grabbed Eliza and jumped into the river. Now we have our underwater scene. That was in a big, huge studio, dry, filled with smoke, and lighting ripple effect from the top that looked like it had a watery effect. And then that might have been one of the more complicated scenes as well, like the bathroom, but in different ways, because we were dry, and they had to add a water effect in post production. So that included running a fan upward so that Eliza's coat would ripple, and they could make that, and the CG artist could then take that ripple and make it look more watery, flowy like. Her hair was all pinned up on one side, the camera side, so that they could then CG later hair moving with the water this way that wouldn't go go across her face. So that was well orchestrated ahead of time, so practical and CG could work together. Brilliant filmmakers and brilliant artists that pulled all this together. Sally and I were hanging from hip harnesses with wires going up to the ceiling, and they were also on stunt rigs that were bobbing us up and down and this and that. So I had a people pulling me up when I came up to meet her, and she was unconscious. And then I gave her that kiss of life, and her gills opened up, and she came to life, and we embraced. And then the camera goes back to reveal that we're in this vast underwater set, and we live happily ever after. So that was all done with hip harnesses that were squeezing my hip bones to the point where I was in great pain. But I knew as we were filming that embrace, when the camera was backing away from us, I said to myself, it's worth the pain, because this is probably going to be the most beautiful image on film that I have ever been a part of. And I will say that to this day. That is the most beautiful image on film that I've ever been a part of. And it became the poster of the movie. It was on billboards all around big cities when the movie came out.
I find this flick fascinating because it touches on the integrity of the ego. The ego's goal is to strike a balance between primitive drives, morals, and reality, while also satisfying the id and the superego. Certain characters exhibit primal emotions, but their actions have dire consequences. Overall, this fish out of water fairy tale lays all its chips on the table because Del Toro was a brilliant, imaginative storyteller who knows how to convey a simple story driven by characters' actions rather than spoon-feeding the audience with an abundance of exposition. For me, it hits like a ton of bricks while Eliza grows gills. This flick shows the contrast of both extremes, balanced by touching on themes of how misfits don't need to heed to social conformity: trust, communication, prejudice, fear, animal rights, humanity, love, and loss. It comes full circle because halfway through the film, She explains to Giles that she has to rescue the amphibian man because she met him for a reason. Filming took place on location in Hamilton and Toronto, Ontario, Canada. For me, it's so fun seeing familiar places close to home in mainstream movies.
And we went on to win Best Picture, along with 13 other nominations and 4 wins total, including Best Director for my dear Guillermo del Toro. And I think we also won Best Soundtrack and Best Production Design. And so Best Director and Best Picture. So to have a Best Picture at the Oscars with a monster on the cover is extraordinary. I don't know if it had ever been done before. And then to have me be the one who played that monster, it was such an incredible honor.
Eliza's transformation reveals this is an innovative retelling of the classic tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast. It could also be perceived as a reverse version of The Little Mermaid. So, my official grade for The Shape of Water is an extra, extra, extra large popcorn with an extra large water on the side.
And that's what I call high quality tools.
And tissues. You'll need tissues.
So what did you think of The Shape of Water? Leave comments below and we can talk about it. Honestly, darling, I've heard of loving fish sticks, but this is ridiculous.
If you're a cinemaniac like me, make sure you like and subscribe. And hit that little notification bell down below, so you don't miss anything.
So thank you, Chris, so much for asking about that. I love talking about my favorite movie I've ever been in. And God bless you. Love, big love.
Thank you, Doug Jones, for taking time out of your busy schedule to do a cameo for me and my little YouTube channel. Really says a lot that you take time for the fans like that. I can't thank you enough. Until next time, I'll see you at the movies. Have a great day. And remember, did you know that I'm a film critic for HorrorBuzz.com? You can read my reviews on their website, and I make frequent appearances on their YouTube channel, HorrorBuzz Live. So I'll leave links below for that too.
To have a Best Picture at the Oscars with a monster on the cover is extraordinary. I don't know if it had ever been done before. And then to have me be the one who played that monster, it was such an incredible honor.